And welcome to this edition of the Native News Update on this Wednesday, September 28th. I'm your host for today's program, and today we're going to go directly to an interview with one of our favorite Anishinaabe Winona LaDuke. Hi, I'm Paul DeMain with IndianCountryTV.com, and today we're going to speak with Anishinaabe Winona LaDuke from the White Earth Ojibwe Reservation in northern Minnesota. And Winona is always busy with some kind of a project, so today we're going to talk with her a little bit about a couple projects she's involved in, including the launch of a new radio station, something to do with solar panels, and her new experience. She's become a farmer and she's growing corn. So let's talk her a little bit with her about that. Winona, tell us a little bit about what's on your mind with you launched a radio station here recently?
We did. We got an FCC license here a couple years ago, construction permit, and it's called Niji Broadcasting, and it's KKWE and KNKN, two stations actually. We got the license for. We had to battle on a little bit there, and we just got on the air for KKWE. It's pretty far for our area, kind of from Fargo to Bemidji, pretty much. Pretty large area, and we're playing. Right now, we're not doing live programming, but we hope to be doing live programming as soon as our broadcast studio is set up. In the meantime, we have some work that my son and some other young people did. It got a combination between Ojibwe language, Anishinaabe Ojibwe music, various cool Indian music, and then kind of a combination of from international to soft rock. I mean, they got international reggae to some Latin American music.
You got two different call numbers there. Where are people going to find you on the dial?
89.9 FM is where you could find us now. And you can get us pretty far. And then we also are going to be on the air at nijiradio.com.
Okay, you're going to be online.
Online. Thank you for clarifying.
Niji
Radio. And so I'm saying that because if you know a little bit about me, I've done a lot of radio interviews, but I'm pretty far out of my league in this here. But it is a way for our people. We don't have any native radio, but now between us, Leech Lake, Lakudere, no, not us, Leech Lake, Fond du Lac, and then Net Lake, we all have stations going on, and so the whole north, pretty soon you'll be able to hear us all the way when you head across
Highway 2 all the way across into South Dakota, where you get KILI.
Yeah, or you're first gonna hit KEYA and then North Dakota. But yeah, so I feel like it's good and it's enlightening, and I'm excited. I'm very excited about it. So I'm working on a couple shows. What I'm working on first is these stories, kids stories, because I raise a lot of kids and more show up at my house, and I like to read stories to them, and so I'm working on retelling some of our older stories, like how Schoolcraft wrote them, but he wrote them all funky, so I'm trying to fix them so they're not funky, like hereafter wherewithal they were wandering in the meadows. Like, what the heck's that mean?
What do you change things where you go like, in it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a little bit more resi, plus some Ojibwe in it. So that a local child, like how I would read the story to my kid. Yeah, so I'm kind of doing a set of stories that we're hoping to have on the air during like theoretical nap time of Head Start kids. Theoretical, I say. Hoping for the best on that one, and then also for the evening. And so I'm doing that, and then I'm doing another show. I'm doing some general, journalistic, stories on wild rice, and doing one on wild rice, and some other environmental stories, but. Language.
Let's talk a little bit about those environmental stories. You're saying you're doing something about rice, but lately you've been growing corn. Tell us a little bit about what you have in mind with corn and why, even for the airwaves, something like that would be a good discussion point. Most people think of corn when they go through Iowa and there's big fields of it and this nice, great, luscious yellow thing that you bite into. But corn's a little bit more than that. Tell us what you know.
So I've been working on growing corn varieties out, our old guys. I started really about 10 years ago with Bear Island Flint. It comes from an island in the middle of Leech Lake, and it's kind of a microclimate, and it's a multicolored flint corn, this hominy soup corn, and I got about this much from a seed grower, a corn geneticist from Iowa State.
A handful of seeds.
And now we have fields. And so we're trying to restore them to the quantities that would be like in the old days we Anishinaabe and other people would be eating. A lot of people say we were mostly hunters and gatherers. Yes, but no. Actually, there was tens of thousands of acres of garden between Wisconsin and Minnesota. And if you look at some of the old pictures, I've found some old pictures from Leech Lake. There's a picture of I can forward that to you, but there's a picture, I got a picture of me standing in front of my braided corn in my office. We got several varieties hanging. And then I got a picture from 1910 of a guy on Leech Lake in front of his wigwam. Same dang thing. So, we Anishinaabe, northernmost corn growers in the world. We push corn about 100 miles north of Winnipeg. This variety, I'm growing a variety called Manitoba Flint, white flint. It's about this tall, and it's got shorter ears, but some
about
of them are
3.5, 4 feet tall at the most, maybe.
Because it didn't spend a lot of time getting tall. It spent a lot of time putting its energy into its ears. Its stand is good, and so it doesn't require irrigation, doesn't require fertilizer, doesn't require. It's frost resistant, drought resistant, and when there's a big wind that comes, and Monsanto's Roundup Ready corn blows over in the wind, our corn is still standing. So I'm looking at it as the kind of corn we're going to need for climate change in our communities. And I'd like to get back to, the Oneidas are prolific corn growers here in Wisconsin. We, Anishinaabe, Menominees, all of us could be good corn growers as well over into our area, and I intend to be part of that. The
Oneidas were known for their corn, beans, and squash.
Right.
And you have one heck of a squash story to tell as well. Can you fit that in?
I do have this great squash story, and actually it originates from someplace around what would be Menominee, because Menominees, of course, gave some land to Oneidas. But they say it was near Oneida, Wisconsin, where the Oneida community is. And I was given this squash first by Luis Salas up there at Bad River, and then this other fellow over to Menominee. But there was an archaeological dig a number of years ago near the Menominee Reservation, or in that area over there, and they in the dig they unearthed apparently a clay ball about the size of a tennis ball. That's how that was described to me. And they shook that ball, and when they shook that, they heard something inside of it. And then so the archaeologists crack it open, and in that there was seeds, and it was squash seeds. And they carbon date that whole dig about 800 years old, but in that clay ball, those seeds were viable. And so they grew up the squash, and I first heard of it and seen it about 5 years ago. Up at Bad River. Luis Salas told me about it and then passed me on some, and it's about this long and about this, like this, and it's kind of orange and green a little bit when it's done. And so I grew the first one this year because I had a hard time for a few years with a lot of stuff going on. You have to be in good mind to grow. That's what I think. And so this year I had my first success, and I was happy because it looked the way they said. I did not mess it up. And
Ashley said it was the most delicious thing she had had in a long time.
Yeah, excellent. My niece loved that squash. Our family we had ceremony. We had a little bit of it for a small one. And I don't know the name of that squash. I call it something like Gete Okosumin, which I think means something like really cool old squash.
Because they didn't have a name for it. They had to name it. It's like it's a squash that was found in a
archaeological
clay ball. Clay ball.
Yeah, but I say that too because that clay ball thing was interesting because, I work on this trying to get our seeds back and our plants back, and now there's this big discussion that in Norway they're putting up this giant repository for seeds, and they want a collection of all the seeds there in the north in this giant vault underground, highly mechanized, highly special. And, there's a little controversy about it, but the whole idea of how these seeds are going to be kept. And I traveled someplace else, and I seen a high-tech seed keeping place, $1 million facility in Kansas. Right. And then I thought, I think I'm just going to stick with the clay ball.
Might be a good idea. It seemed to
work really well for 800 years. And
what happens if someone pulls the electricity? That site will go down, but the clay ball...
The clay ball's going to be good. I think it wicked out the moisture, and it held it at a temperature, and the earth is a very good powerful thing to put your special stuff in.
All slow foods. Wild rice, corn, squash, beans. You got lima beans up in Madeline Island, not a lot, but slow food. Tell us how
Scarlet
that fits.
runners.
Scarlet runners?
They're beautiful. And I'm not sure their provenance. Provenance means where they come from originally.
Yeah.
I'm working on this. But, food has a story. We've come to be a generation of people, a lot of our children don't know how to cook. They know how to heat. They buy stuff at the store and heat it up. They like to get stuff that's already made. And so we have become more and more disconnected from the spirit that is in food and the knowledge, the fact that food has a story, like the story of that squash, or the story of the corn varieties that we are growing, where they come from, how they got there. Mandamin in itself is a story. And so there's this international movement called Slow Food, which is working on culture and quality in food, and that food has culture and food has a value unto itself. It celebrates that. Said it's the antithesis of fast food in some ways, where we're talking about quality over quantity. And it's a movement that is international. I've been a member of it for almost 10 years now, 2003, so 8 years. Our organization received the International Slow Food Award for our campaign to keep our wild rice from getting genetically engineered. So far, so good on that one. But I believe in this movement, but I believe in our indigenous communities that part of our whole process of becoming the people we're intended to be by the Creator is to recover our foods. And some of our foods are like what we're growing now, but more and more people need to grow those out because our people need to eat them. Our ceremonial drums need these foods. Our ceremonies need these foods. I'm pretty sure that mac and cheese was not on the original instruction list. And
I'm not sure about that,
we're
but
not sure.
we're pretty sure.
Yeah, that's right. Take a look again. I'll go back to the instructions. Yeah.
We got 1 minute left. Slow food, saving energy by not shipping your food halfway across the country. The pesticides aren't being used on it rather than natural bugs. Does it seem to all be coming back and stepping back? Your father told you might be a smart woman, but until you know how to grow corn.
Yeah, that's exactly right. My father passed away 92, but he used to tell me, Winona, you're a smart young woman, but I don't want to hear your philosophy if you can't grow corn.
Is that good advice for...
And I think he's right. I learned a lot. And what I want to say is our future is going to be tied to, the fact that if we want to say we're sovereign, we better be able to feed ourselves. And we used to be the people who knew how to feed themselves because those people who come, they didn't bring land or food with them. And so us, it's our shot to be those people and to have some security for future.
Want to say thank you for joining with us today, and we're going to catch up with you again soon, I think.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
And if you'd like to see a longer version of the discussion about Winona LaDuke and her recent visit to Madeline Island, we're going to have the 23-minute program up in Indian Country TV Digital Library very soon. And that is another roundup of news from Indian Country on this edition of the Native News Update. Thanks for joining with us, and come back again soon. Miigwech.